All right.
A little bit while here.
Okay. And let me know, Claudia, whenever I should start.
Okay, my friend, let me put the gallery view. We are live already, okay?
Great. Well, welcome everyone as you're getting settled in. We hope that you're having a good, restful weekend with your family, your friends, whomever you're sheltering in place with, that
Okay,
you're remaining safe and healthy during this difficult time our world is facing. All right, let's begin. Welcome, our fellow friends and family, audience, viewers. We're so excited to be here with you today. This is our very first live podcast, Deepening Your Love in Crisis. And we thought we would start off with an introduction. We find it so important that you get a chance to know who we are before we take this journey and talk about the most precious things in our life, and that is our relationships, how much we want to nurture them. And we also want to have you get to know who we are, why you're sitting in front of us, and why this is such an incredibly important topic to us, and how excited and honored we are to be with you. So I think I'll go ahead and maybe go first if that's okay, Claudio.
sure, yes.
Okay, great. So hello, my name is Trisha Kim Walsh. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist based in the Bay Area, and I have a private practice located in Oakland. And I also work at the Life at Wellness Center in Menlo Park. I predominantly see individual adults. In my private practice, I see couples and I also see teenagers. And at the Life at Clinic, I also see couples and individuals. My areas of specialty are in trauma, grief and loss, anxiety, and relational conflicts. And a little something about myself. I became a therapist for many reasons, but something that I really want our viewers to hear is I've suffered from a lot of anxiety from growing up in a household where my father was an alcoholic and suffered from major depression. He was born and raised in Seoul, South Korea. And as a child growing up in that environment, it was very difficult to feel seen. He was a remarkable man, and often there was a lot of perfectionism that was created in that household. And I've dedicated my life to really understanding, helping children, teens, couples, families, individuals understand the traumas that they've had in their life and how it affects their relationships profoundly. And I really get what it's like to go through the feelings that sometimes we don't feel worthy, we don't feel deserving, and that can show up in our most precious relationships. So I've learned a lot, and really therapy has saved my life, and I hope that this this viewing can really help you as you're getting to know yourself and understanding what you've gone through. And certainly I've benefited from a lot of these tools and techniques that we're going to be presenting to you. So that's a little bit about me. And now I turn it over to my good friend and my colleague, Claudio Silva.
Yes, my name is Claudio Silva. I want to apologize because I had some difficulty at the beginning. It's my first time doing this. And there I was like kind of listening to the audio from YouTube and the audio from Zoom at the same time. So I tried to connect to my AirPod and then I tried to disconnect, but it's kind of all experience, right, for the first time. But my name is Claudio Silva. I'm a marriage and family therapist and an emotionally focused therapist certified. I have two offices, one in San Mateo and the other in San Jose at the Bay Area, California. And my specialty is like very similar to you, Trisha. So I work mainly with families. I really like working with the family. So let's say that sometimes if I work with a child, I always want to have the parents together if they are willing to do so, and sometimes even siblings, and working with two of them at least, because it's really helpful. And I love working with couples as well. And like you, Trisha, also have a similar experience. My mom has bipolar disorder, and it was very difficult in my childhood. And my parents fought a lot. I remember when I was kind of 5 years old, and they were uh, kind of having these fights until like in the morning, was very distressing. And we are going to talk about communication today. And I didn't have a really good communication because I didn't have good role models to teach me. Not that my parents were not good; they did their best, but they didn't know how to communicate. So I got all those things from them, and this really was a problem in my relationships. But fortunately, 10 years ago, I finished studying marriage and family therapy, and I jumped into kind of learning about communication, learning about family, learning about attachment theory, emotionally focused therapy, and how to connect. So this really changed my life. And I'm very, very fortunate, very happy. And I want to give hope to our listeners because as we have learned and changed our lives, people also can change. You can also not only change, but you can also be a help, a support for other people to change as we are doing right now.
Yes, that's lovely. And Claudio and I met through an emotionally focused therapist organization that we belong to in the East Bay. And we find that the work we do is very similar. And that's why we want to work together, that we can bring our different cultural experiences, our spiritual beliefs, as well as our experiences, because we are actively seeing couples right now during this time of COVID. And as you can see, I'm in a virtual office, but I'm actually at home right now, just like Claudio is. We're all sheltering in place. So these are just unique circumstances for us as therapists. And we're providing all of our care virtually and being very safe and mindful of not exposing each other to the virus. This is unique times to be communicating as therapists. And we're thankful that what we're going to be speaking to you about, which the focus of today's topic is love communications. And as we're talking about love communications, know that these are tools that you can use not just for your romantic partnerships, but you can also use in every interaction that you're having with, whether it be a child, a friend and family member, a colleague, any kind of relationship that you hold in high regard. So, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and begin? Does that sound okay, Claudio?
Yes, that's great. So, and we can talk about the book, right? That we are,
Yeah.
because we're using a special book. It's a book that I read, a book written for couples, and I really loved it. It's a very short part, like 4 pages only, that we're going to talk today, Love Conversations.
Yes.
But it's really good. And we, by the way, we talked to the authors, we asked their authorization. So we
That's
want to
right.
show you guys the book, and Trisha has the book with you, right? That so
Yes.
you could show now.
Yes, I'd be delighted to. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off my virtual background because what happens, and for those of you who are Zooming, which we're on a Zoom platform, is that the background starts to blur. Like imagine if you were an action animator and having a green room, everything changes when you bring in a surface image. So I'm turning this off and I'm going to go ahead. You're going to see where I'm at. I'm at home, clearly. I am proud to share with you this incredible workbook that I've used for my own relationship and I've also used with my couples. I find it to be brilliant. And this is from the works of doctors Veronica Carlos Lilly and Dr. Jennifer Fitzgerald. And it's called an emotionally focused workbook for couples, the two of us. And I'm going to show you the image. And you can probably order this on Amazon, and depending on your delivery, you should be able to receive it quite efficiently. And again, this is an incredible workbook that is user friendly.
Yeah, what
And
I like about this book is that it has like several conversations throughout the book that we can talk to our partner. So it's a very good tool that helps us to get to connect with our partner, to really be vulnerable, to express our feelings.
right, and I love workbooks that are user friendly. Again, that really, I am someone who sometimes, I'm sure like many of you, are overwhelmed with what is currently happening in our world, overwhelmed with your duties and responsibilities at home, with your work responsibilities. So having a workbook is a framework that you're going to be able to walk through. And these are really beautifully outlined. And we're selecting this one particular tool that we think is going to be helpful for you to remember in the times of crisis. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on in. And if you are following us and you've actually have the book at home, this is, and correct me, Claudio, that these are pages 3 through 5.
Yeah, I have here starting at page 4, but you have the actual book. I do it at Kindle, so yeah.
Right. Well, so if you're following along and you do have the active book, we will just share with you what page I have it located in my workbook so you can
Mhm.
reference it later.
Yeah, yeah. So, I would like to mention the acronym, which is LOVE. It's such a coincidence, right? But they wrote, listen with an open heart and mind, validate and acknowledge each other, express our thoughts and feelings softly, simply, and slowly. So this is what we're going to talk about now. And then we can start with the L, which would be listen. Uh, yeah.
Right. And I love being able to have access to something like that, like love. The reason why I'm confident that all of you are watching is because you have people in your life that you love very deeply. Having access to remembering why we're showing up for each other is an act of love. LOVE.
Mhm.
Listening, being open minded, being able to validate each other, and be expressive. So, we're going to go through each of these letters and give you tips on how you can use this in your life.
Mhm. And the first one about listening, so it has a lot to do with empathy. And by the way, such just a disclaimer, because in 2010, when I finished studying marriage and family therapy, and then I went to some communication workshops, and then I wanted to use that communication that I was learning, and when I tried to use with some people, like family members, they were upset. It didn't seem like real. It didn't seem like it was coming from the inside, because sometimes it takes a while to sink. But so listening has to do with empathy, which is putting ourselves in another person's shoes. Like, imagine how it would be if it was with us, if we were going through that. And we pay special attention to the feelings, not the words, simply the words, but the feelings. So what do you think if we kind of role play that example that I was talking about the garbage?
I love that. And just so you know, it's very common for us as emotionally focused therapists when we're in practicum to do role plays because it helps us touch inside of ourselves what it feels like to be the person that's reactive as well as the person that's receiving. So we're going to give you a demonstration and I hope that you can turn on your imagination and imagine if you've been in this exact same scenario because this is so personal and so real. I've been in these conversations with my own partner and even my own roommates before I was married. So, we're going to give you a role play and we just ask you, even if it's a topic that you can't relate to, that think of a topic that recently you got charged with your partner. It could be anything, and see how we communicate and see if this is something that you already do or something that you don't do. And pay attention to what do you think would be different to get you back online and to show a love conversation. So yes, I would love to do a role play. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's do that. So we thought about this because this is something that I heard and someone was talking to me, and a partner was really frustrated about the garbage and complained that you never take the garbage out. So you're gonna be that partner, gonna tell me, and then
Right. And I'm going to be acting as myself because I have to say before EFT, I was this partner.
Okay, okay, yeah.
So imagine that I've come, well, and keep in mind we're COVID, so we're sheltering in place. And Claudio and I have expectations and roles of what chores we do. We're team members, so to speak. So now I've discovered that Claudio didn't do his chore. He didn't take out the trash. So I'm going to be responding to him with that frustration. Claudio, I just went downstairs and I just saw that the garbage is still there. I asked you to take out the garbage yesterday and you didn't take out the garbage. Why aren't you listening to me? I've said this so many times to you. I've asked you numerous times, are you not listening to me? I see that you have time to watch TV and play your video games. Why during that time you could have taken out the garbage? I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting really upset. I feel like we've had this conversation so many times right now.
Yeah, you know something, I think that you are exaggerating. I think it's not true that I never take the garbage out. So on many times I have done that. So it's kind of a just yesterday, just today I didn't take it. So now I was defensive. I
Right.
was defensive, right?
Right. And I'm
Yeah.
feeling it. I'm getting very upset that you're not listening to me.
Yeah. Even though we are just role playing, it's not true, right? It's not a true experience between the two of us. It might be with you and your partner or someone else.
Right.
But yeah. But what I want like the listeners to pay attention to is the meaning, the thing that is underneath. It's not about the trash. So sometimes when people become defensive, they are thinking about the trash. Oh, it's not true. That it's not true because I many occasions I take the trash.
Right.
But
And
if
I
we
may know that, but I'm not paying attention to it in this moment.
yeah, yeah.
I'm keeping
So
track of when you didn't.
mm-hmm. And the message, the underlying message is that it's very frustrating for you when I don't listen to you, right? When you feel in some way ignored, you feel, in other words, that you are not important to me.
Right.
And so that's the message. So let's say that I focus on that and I don't focus on the trash. So I say, so Trisha, I can see that you are really upset, very frustrated. And that's something that you don't like when I don't listen to you. And you ask me to do something and I don't respond. And I can understand, I can see how frustrating that is for you. And I'm very sorry that I didn't take the trash. And thank you so much for reminding me about that.
Right. And just see what happens. Is I'm not expecting it. You've just now disarmed me. I was expecting a battle. I was expecting you to get defensive. I was expecting for me to be a prosecutor in a court of law to demonstrate all the evidence of the times that you did it. And now I don't have a defense. I am caught off guard and I'm kind of silenced because you did listen to me. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm softening. I'm paying attention to, wow, you did get it. You did name that I'm frustrated. So even just listening involves what emotion is your partner or that relationship in front of you experiencing? What do you think they're experiencing? Can you see them non-verbally? You can see it in their face or their eyes that
Mm-hmm.
Claudio got it. I was frustrated and he could name it. I see that you're frustrated. And he took it a step further and said, I understand. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
care about understanding what this does for you. And
Mm-hmm.
that suddenly deepens and makes me feel like that is what we're talking about is that he's recognizing that in this moment, we're not just talking about the trash, we're also talking about this emotion that I'm feeling as I'm exhausted. I've had a long day at work on Zoom. And this is another thing that I'm going to have to do. And I feel like I'm alone in this. I have to not only do the dishes and take care of the kids and do the laundry, but now I have to go to the garbage chute and throw out the garbage. And I feel like I'm doing it all alone. He's not
Mm-hmm.
seeing it. He's not getting it. And Claudio, you just disarmed me. You just named,
Yeah.
you get it. And now I want to know more about what do you get? How do you understand what's happening inside of my world?
Yeah, and you see that in terms of disarming, so the reason I disarm is because, in other words, you felt like I don't pay attention to you. You're like invisible to me, right?
Absolutely.
And you have maybe to scream, to yell for me to really pay attention. Otherwise, I'm not paying attention. But when I respond this way, I I am acknowledging how you feel. I'm saying, no, I listen to you. I see how frustrating it is for you when you ask me something and I don't do it. And that's very exhausting. That's very frustrating. So in other words, I am saying that is not true what you're saying, that I don't pay attention, that I don't listen, right? That I
Well,
never
in the
do it
moment,
because I just did it right now.
exactly.
So so and it's so interesting because if I tell you, oh, you know, that's not true. I listened to you. Many times I have taken the garbage, you didn't say anything. So although I am defending myself and I might be right, but you're not gonna feel disarmed. You're not gonna feel really that I understood you. So, but when I take ownership of what I did and I acknowledge how you feel now, really kind of helps you to soothe, right? To calm down. Yeah.
Right. And what I'm also appreciating, Claudio, is you're remaining open minded to there could be another way of looking at this, which is I want to name this is it's really hard to be doing what we're doing. We recognize in the moment of tension, you're going to feel really upset that your partner's coming at you because Claudio, I don't know what has happened in your day that may have prevented you from taking out the garbage. You may have done other things that I know nothing about. You might have been preparing a meal for us. You might have been walking the dog and I'm not there. I'm right now my world is focused on the fact you did not do what I asked you to, right? And so, if
Mhm.
you are able to be in my world in that moment by keeping an open mind of my experience, which is the O for open mindedness, then I feel
Mhm.
like you're willing to hear about my day, which maybe in addition to the garbage, I want to also tell you about the fact that I had a big fight with my team member. Or, I got off the phone with a friend who just told me that they had a death in their family because of COVID. Like, there's so many things that I may be holding that is not about the garbage, but I'm so raw and upset that the garbage may be the most convenient thing for me to talk about
Mhm.
at the moment because I haven't yet processed the grieving I'm going through and hearing bad news yet again on the news, yet
Mhm.
again with a good
Mhm.
friend or family member.
Mhm. Yeah, so this other part, I think that's even has to do with listening as well, you know. But I wanna read what the authors wrote on page 4 of the
Yes.
book.
Mhm.
What means to have an open mind? I am trying to listen to you as though we have just met and I haven't had time to develop any negative assumptions as yet. And it happens a lot because let's think about couples when they met and they have that honeymoon phase.
Oh, yes.
Everything is wonderful and they are so empathic and they think so well of their partners. But with the time, some negative perceptions cloud their mind and they start thinking negatively about the other, thinking that the other person has always some negative intention in mind. And then they might start judging when the person starts saying something, start judging the person already. And what they are saying here is that we put that judgment aside, that we try to listen to our partner as if it was the very first time and having a positive view of the intentions of our partner and letting those thoughts in some way influence us. Because sometimes we are so like determined to show that our partner is wrong and we are so fixated on that and it's very frustrating for communication. So when we can kind of open our heart and see what can I learn from what my partner is telling me right now.
Right. I love that quote because it is really amazing. If we could just pause for a moment to hear what Claudio just said about if you heard the person in front of you with a new set of ears, how you'd be slowing down and really taking in with humility what you're hearing in the moment of this tension that's happening between us. As we're talking about garbage, we're also talking about this need, this need for me to have my partner show up for me and then to really be listened to and to be cared about. So, this is also about having an open heart, really
Mhm.
being able to feel like the words that are coming out of my mouth are having an impact on you. I'm paying attention to see, do you care that this is creating stress and anxiety for me, that
Mhm.
I'm struggling, and this is a way that you're helping to take care of the relationship by doing your part, by this is a part of you as a team member that you're going to follow through. So if you're hearing me and if I can see it in your eyes, if you're really taking it in, I'm paying attention to you, I'm reading you to see, are you really caring about what I have to say? And if you're looking at me as if you're hearing me maybe for the very first time, by showing me your eye contact, not fidgeting on your device, not looking for an escape route, like I need to get out of here. Oh no, she's coming at me. Which I want to say, if you're feeling that way, that's normal. That's normal for that flight and flight part of your brain to get reactive of,
Mhm.
oh no, she's coming and attacking me, or he's coming out and he's going to get me. I need to get myself safe, right? This is a part of the fight or flight that is hardwired in our brains to say, I need to get safe, but to do something different, to really
Mhm.
be open to what is this request that my partner is really asking of me that's so important to them, that I really need to have the ability to have a open, willing heart and fresh ears to hear what they have to say.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, and something that has to do with empathy that I had just said. I was remembering a case that a friend of mine was talking to me on, like we are talking on the phone, and he was being very repetitive. Now I was kind of getting tired because he was trying to convey something to me I had got already, you know? I didn't need him to explain over and over. So then I asked him to stop and I said, well, I want to see if I got what you said, if I really understood. So then I repeated back to him what we call like reflection, right? So I
Yep.
repeated back to him and then I asked, is that what you were trying to convey to me? And then he said, yes. And he stopped explaining. So he just needed kind of to know for sure that I was getting, and that helped him when I talked back, when I reflected and asked him, did I get what you said? Do you think I understood now? And I also remember, it just happened this week. I was talking also to someone, and that person was kind of yelling, trying to explain some with so much
Yep.
emotion. And I noticed the same thing. I thought, I think that she's thinking that I might not understand. And then I said, I understand. It really makes sense to me. Thank you for explaining that to me. I can see how hard it is. So I noticed that when I was saying that, she calmed down. And when she spoke, she was really now soft and calm and wasn't yelling anymore. But it's so interesting because sometimes people they have this in their minds. I think that Claudio is not understanding what I'm saying. So sometimes we have to be proactive in doing something that will help this person to feel seen, to feel understood, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a relatable thing, Claudio, that you're naming about, as we're talking about reflection, that this is really a muscle. This is what I tell my clients, and this is what I tell myself, is it's like going to the gym, is that, if you want to get those biceps or you want to get that six pack, which by the way, I have no idea how you go about doing that. That takes so it's hard work, right? Is if you want to see the development in your body, the same goes for the relationship development, is this is a part of that practice of in the moment, and you have opportunities all the time to do reflections. And guess what? If you make a
Mhm.
mistake, it's okay. If you got it wrong, it's easy for those of us. Hi, I'm Trisha. I'm a perfectionist, that I hate getting things wrong. I really want to get them right. So I want to be the best friend, the best daughter, the best partner. So if I don't get it right, I feel really bad. But what would it be like if Claudio, maybe I didn't hear him give me the actual feelings I was having? Like, I understand you're frustrated. I could have attacked him, right? I could have said, you
Mhm.
don't know what it's like. I'm doing this, that, and the other. But if he's reflecting, if he's really listening to me and saying, am I getting it that you are frustrated because I know you had that big presentation today? I know you were talking to your friend and I want to know how that went. He's reflecting, he's listening to me. Then I'm kind of taken back, like, oh, wait, He is listening to me. He is reflecting, and he's reassuring me he cares about what's happening in my life, which starts to soothe me and soften me, that I feel like, oh, wait, why am I doing this? And there might be kind of embarrassment for those of us who are kind of in the, I want to make sure you get why I'm upset with you. So
Mhm.
even as I was doing that, I was feeling a bit embarrassed for, to our viewers, like, oh no, are they going to think I'm mean? Do they think I'm not a, and I think as women, and I do want to name that, is often if women are getting kind of big and expressing their voices, they can have
Mhm.
negative connotations made about them, nasty things, name calling. So we
Mhm.
want to advise our viewers, name calling is a game ender, that you do not want to go there. Do not go into name calling. Do not go into the attacks, because it just creates even more harm to the relationship.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think that we could go now to validating, which is the V of the love, right? And validating is another kind of another step further when we are listening, because the first part, the listening, is that we pay attention to the person, pay attention to the feelings we convey, that we are really getting it. um, Open mind means that we are letting them influence us. We are not kind of shutting down to their truth. We are letting, we are allowing them in some way to teach us something about themselves, about the world. We don't have the absolute truth, right?
Right.
And the next thing, validation, is when we say it makes sense. It makes sense what you're telling me. I remember now about Sue Johnson, which is who is the creator of
That's right.
emotionally focused therapy, right?
Yes.
And she
She's our
says
hero.
that, yeah, she says that everything that people do, or every behavior, everything that they say makes sense. There is always a reason. We just need to find out the reason, but there is always a new reason. It always makes sense. So that helped me a lot, because sometimes when we are helping couples and we see someone yelling at the other, attacking with so much anger. So let's say, I'm going to give an example. One partner tells the other, I love you. You're very important to me. And then the other person responds, I don't believe. I don't think so. And it's very surprising, because that person for so long wanted to hear the partner say, I love you, you're important to me. The partner just did what they wanted, and they say, I don't believe you.
Right.
And then what we learn is that we turn to that person and say, yes, right, it's obvious. It's very obvious, very understandable that although you want so much that your partner is going to tell you that he loves you, but at the same time, considering everything that happened between the two of you guys, it's very hard that he would believe.
Yes,
Yes, it makes total sense to me.
exactly.
Yeah, so in other words, we are seeing, always looking for some truth in what the person is saying, and conveying that makes sense to us.
And I love this tool that we're talking about. It has been life changing for me to get this, Claudio. And I think it's great that you're using all these examples for our viewers, because this is what we see in the therapy room is,
Mm,
after being an emotionally focused trained therapist, I see all of my patients and all of my relationships with a brand new set of eyes and ears.
mm,
It's opened my world to seeing that everyone I speak to has truth to it. And if you can go into your life with the acknowledgement of what people have to say, there is some grain of truth in, and you can validate that, you're going to dramatically be able to have two buttons. And this comes from the workbook that I really love using, and that's the pause button and that's the delete button,
mm,
right? Is to be able, how many of us have had regrets on things we've said and done? Hi, I'm Trisha again. I
mm.
wished I could have taken that back, whether it be friends, family, and of course, most importantly, my partner. that I have to validate what I said to you really probably did hurt you, and to validate what that experience was like for that person in
Mhm.
front of me, is to care enough about them to acknowledge what I've heard, to demonstrate respect from their view of reality, even if it's very different from my own. Very hard, because sometimes we can feel fear and shame to admit that we were wrong. But I would rather be wrong than to have, and we're talking about grief too, is the grieving of loss of relationship when we lose
Mhm.
connection with our precious partner, friend, that can be such a rupture. And feeling safe during these unsafe times, that the gift of love that we can give is validation. That,
Mhm.
Claudio, if you turn to me and say, I get it that I didn't take out the trash. You're right. I didn't take it out this time. Not only am I sorry, but I want to hear what it was like for you when I didn't do something that you asked me to. And now I'm not there for you. Like, oh, you're listening to me with an open heart. You're validating my experiences. So now I might even feel safe to Claudio, that I might talk to him about, you know what, I'm having a really bad day. I just snapped
Yeah.
at you. This is not the way I wanted to spend the rest of our evening, having dinner and talking to each other, because I've missed you. And now I'm hurt and
Mhm.
sad that I've just interrupted this connection we could have had together.
Mhm. And I was remembering now because Trisha, it's so interesting that validation was one of the last things I was able to get and use with my clients. Was very hard for me. Even when I was already certified as an emotionally focused therapist, I was still not able to use it really well. But I remember that last year I was in Brazil and we were taking emotionally focused therapy to Brazil. And then Sam Gennett, which is very known from us, right? The trainer here in San Francisco,
That's
great
right.
psychologist. So he was giving an example of validation,
Mm,
and he was saying like how he would talk to a partner and say, yes, I understand,
yes.
I understand perfectly, it makes total sense to me, really makes sense. So when he was saying that, it came as a light for me. Wow, how powerful that is, right? How powerful that is to say that to someone, to hear that. It's really nice.
And
And my
Claudia, I'm
friend,
wondering if we can even just name, Dr. Sue Johnson calls this love experience a dance. And I don't know about you, but this is music to my ears.
mm,
When I hear someone say, I understand you,
mhm,
I get you. And I love that you're using that reference, because that is what our partners and our relationships want to know is, do you understand me? Do
mhm,
you get me? Do you know when I'm reaching to you, which may seem like an attack, I'm really saying I have an underlying need that wasn't met. And that was, I want to feel safe with you.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, always trying to pay attention to what is underneath, right? Yeah, always trying to listen to that communication that might not be really kind of evident, like, but it's underneath. And also like in the E part of the love, right? It's
Yes,
expression. And the authors wrote a lot of good things about expression
I certainly
as
did.
well. Yeah. Um, but something that they say about expression that I think it's very respectful. Sometimes, especially for me, like a pursuer, that I want to always, like, if I see a problem in the relationship, I want to fix it, and I want to fix right now, and I want to say what's happening right now. I don't want to wait, right? But
Yes,
they were saying that sometimes it's very important that we ask our partner, when would be a good time for you to talk to you?
yes,
Some partners, they are very wary when we say, I want to say something to you. They get already tense, right?
yes,
Because some people who have an avoidant style of communication,
that's right.
they are very afraid of communication, of talking, of the conversations, because they are afraid of being hurt, they are afraid of having a fight, and they hate fights. They prefer to put everything under the carpet than having a bad talk that will actually get into a fight, to get into an argument.
Right. And
So
doesn't that make a lot of sense, though? For our
mm,
viewers, I hope that you're taking a moment to pause and ask
yeah.
yourself, are you someone that might be conflict avoidant? And how much it makes sense that you want to keep the peace,
Mhm, mhm.
that you
Yeah,
want to protect the relationship. So it makes sense that you might be like, no, 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 I don't want to go in this direction. I want to be able to connect with you. That you in this role play could have shut down and said,
yes,
I don't want to talk
exactly.
to you. I don't want to go there. You could have gone upstairs. You could have gone on
Mhm,
your in your car. You could have gone for a jog,
yes.
right?
And it's interesting because like many people that sometimes their partners think that they are really cold, they are distant, they are shut down. The reason is because they don't feel safe.
That's right.
So we need to bring safety. The problem is that sometimes it's hard to have that safety if we're really kind of hurt and we are piling up a lot of things throughout many years, and we can get really defensive in an attack mode very quickly. But we at least we want to show what would be an ideal communication when partners are really connected. What how does that look like, right? And one thing that is very important is that the person asks the other, I want to talk to you about something. I don't know when would be a good time.
Right.
So that already puts in that person the opportunity to choose. So they are not forced and coerced about having to talk about something. They can choose when. So that helps them kind of to feel respected. Now, when we're going to talk about that, so there are some things that are very important,
Hmm.
and the authors, like I'm kind of I copied from what they said on page 6, like avoid swearing,
Hmm.
name calling, or trading insults. And by the way, a book from John Gottman that I was reading another time, and I forgot now what the book is. He has so many books and wonderful books, right?
That's
But
right.
he was saying that in communication, when we are having a conversation, and if we use a word, like for example, well, you are not acting like a grown man, or that was very responsible of you, or you just need to be more considerate.
Right. I could have
So
attacked you and criticized you, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
probably the direction I would have gone if I felt like you were defensive. Am I right? Viewers, that you can relate that this can easily escalate to name calling, criticism. This is where the attack it can get really ugly.
yes. And what I want to call attention is the triggering words, like, well, I think you should be more considerate. So this considerate, that word is a triggering word. And
Hmm.
what John Gottman says is that when the partner listens to a word like that, the heartbeat will go instantaneously higher,
Hmm.
you know? And what happens is that the limbic system will hijack the is executive part of the brain, and the person cannot control himself or herself anymore. So we need to be very careful to avoid words that are descriptive of the person's character, adjectives that say something like being irresponsible, inconsiderate, and
Hmm.
not being a man. That kind of communication will, and even though we want to be heard, we want to get the person's attention, but it will work against us. And
We
we
will
have
get the
to,
kind of wrong attention that we're advising our viewers that this is not the attention that you want in your relationship, right? This is the kind of
Mhm.
attention that causes you to feel distant and disconnected. And so it's actually important. So if you are at home, which I mean, I'm assuming all of you are at home and you've got a writing utensil and paper, write in your journal, what are some of the words that really dig under your skin? And Hold Me Tight by Dr. Sue Johnson. One of the exercises is called raw spots. So these can be trigger words that really get you upset, and referencing and identifying what are those words that really just instantly cause that executive part in your brain to shut down or shut off and to go into fight or flight mode. I'd really recommend you to identify that. And it's really helpful to let your partner know what that is. Another part of the expression is talking about feelings, talking about fears. When you say that I'm inconsiderate, that makes me feel blank. That makes me feel like I'm not a good enough partner, or that I'm falling short as a father, or it makes me feel like you don't respect me. If we really understand what the expression is and the emotions that are happening inside of you when you hear those words, you're not a man enough, you're not showing up enough. Find out from your partner what got them activated, what triggered them to get into a fight mode or get into a flight mode. So it's really great, Claudio. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up to our viewers, because it's important to know the words. As one of my consultants says, words make worlds. So think
Yeah.
about how the world
Mhm.
of disconnection you are making in the words you're using.
Yeah, and the authors speak about three S's, and that's very practical also. It's like um, simple, softly, and slowly. And simple is kind of using like simple words that communicate easily, right? And softly has to do with the tone of a voice being soft, and slowly really kind of talking. So this really helps the other person's nervous system to calm down, to soothe. So it's a combination of what we say, the content, and also how we say. And actually, most of the communication has to do with the how we say, right? Our tone of voice, like the how we look the person. And sometimes, like for example, you're going to say something, you hold your partner's hand, so just that contact will help to soothe our your partner, right?
Right.
And so these are kind of things that will really kind of help to have a good communication.
Yeah, I love using the S's. They are incredible. Think about, if you're a parent, how you responded to your child,
Mhm.
your baby, the way you get their attention when you're soft, you're slow,
Mhm.
and you're simple, because then it really communicates to the brain it's safe. Right
Yeah.
now, in this moment, I am here with you. There's nothing more important than me being with you.
Mhm.
That is what these are, great life skills to use in any circumstance. When you go slower, and sometimes we do live in a world where we're so fast paced that if we go slow, sometimes we can disrespect the person. We think there's something wrong. Why are they going so slow? That this is a part of a meditation and a mindfulness practice that I really encourage you to start developing in this time of sheltering in place. Is the gift that we are getting being in COVID is to slow down. Is
Mhm.
this the
Mhm.
time for you to practice with your partner and your relationships, being able to have things more simple, to be more soft in your interactions? How different it would be if I could come to you, Claudio, and be simple, soft, and slowing down on, Claudio, the trash is not taken out. What happened?
Mhm. Mhm.
What's going
Yeah.
on? If I had gone slow and soft, what would have happened for you, Claudio?
And this, yeah, that would really kind of would kind of change my, because if you are very harsh, then my tendency is not wanting to do it. I just want to be rebellious. But if you're soft and caring, I even kind of give an example to people when I'm giving like a parenting workshop. And then I give an example of how they talk to their partner. Like, for example, honey, would you bring a cup of water to me? But let's say that the person will respond in a negative way. Oh, you know, you think that I'm your maid? And then I say, well, if you are my maid, let me tell you, you are such a beautiful and charming maid. I love you absolutely. And then he brings the water and I just kiss and I say, oh, honey, thank you so much. You're so lovely, so caring. So this is what we are showing about the how, right? It's a combination of the words and the how we say that,
Yes.
because then it really helps people not to feel defensive and resist, right? Because it, our intention when we are sometimes aggressive is that we want to get the person's attention, we want the person to do something, but the more aggressive we are, the more resistant the person becomes, and then we don't get what we want, even, and then we become even more frustrated. Right, because we want to be heard and it doesn't happen.
Right. I mean, again, this all just makes a lot of sense. And I think you're naming something important for all of us is we're human. We can't help that we're going to be emotionally expressive, especially during these very stressful times. And referring back to this workbook on page 6, which I really love the authors specifying if you're having trouble speaking softly, simply, and softly, it may mean that you are feeling stirred up with strong emotions. COVID is going to bring strong emotions. And the authors remind us to pause,
Mm-hmm.
take a few deep breaths in, picture the stress flowing out of the body as you breathe out, and say to yourself, slow down, don't rush, take a deep breath, talk
Mm-hmm.
about my feelings, not my partner's faults. I really like this because it's so easy to go to the faults. Who doesn't have faults? We all have faults. But let's go first to our feelings. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm so tired. It's been such a long day. I just wish someone would understand what I'm going through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it would be nice to have a cup of water brought to you. And how lovely if Claudio can gently and soothingly say, I really appreciate that you did something so affectionate for me. So I
Yeah.
really also, and I'm recognizing we're getting close to the end of our time together, that
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to validate your partner or your loved one, that relationship that's in your life, to recognize when they're doing this, that you can say that means so much to me, and actually saying thank you for remembering this, thank you for Claudio taking out the trash and remembering that this is a way of making me feel less stressed during the time of COVID, when we're working and having to balance childcare responsibilities and being a preschool teacher and trying to do all these roles in our home, which is just exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that we kind of synthesize, although it was kind of almost 1 hour, right?
We
Because there's,
love talking about these topics. As you can see, we're
yeah,
very passionate about it.
there's so much to say. There's so much to say, but we want to invite our listeners um, to kind of come more times, and we are going to try to do it every Saturday at 4 p.m.
That's right.
And we want to really, really thank everyone who were listening to us. We love doing this, right, Trisha?
Absolutely.
We are not doing really, we don't have any interest, financial interest. Actually, we are doing this because we love helping people. We want to support people. Although I think that later we might have some kind of donation, because it kind of spend, it takes time to prepare and everything. But our main purpose is really to help people during this time of crisis. So I'm really thankful to everyone for participating, for being here with us.
That's right, Claudio. And we also just want to acknowledge that this isn't possible without you being here. So we thank you for the choices that you have this holiday weekend, that you're here with us, listening to us. And we have a great love of being able to help all relationships connect, because we get this personally. We're going through this as well. So what we're sharing with you are things that we struggle with, that we're learning. And I'm a student for life. I love learning, and I'm hoping that everything that is benefiting me, I can share this with you and you can share this with others, and we can continue to be a light in the world, lighting each other so we can burn brightly and do remarkable things, because we have a world of remarkable people that are able to do phenomenal things. And as we speak, people are doing incredible things to keep things going, even despite that there's been so much pause. And I also just want to invite you to be aware that this workbook is accessible, and we'll put that on the website. So again, I want to thank Doctors Veronica and Dr. Jennifer for allowing us to use their work in our podcast today. And also a very special thank you to my colleague Claudio for being fantastic as I'm learning how to do this. And I had a lot of anxiety today. I felt a lot more calm working with you, that you are helping me show up in this way of connecting with our viewers and sharing the message of love.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tricia, because I was also anxious, but we helped each other. So thank you, everyone, and we are going to turn off now, and we look forward to seeing you again next Saturday at 4 p.m. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Be safe and healthy.
Thank you.